when Dan Campbell says the decision. People are going to second-guess the decision. There was no decision. You were just following the script. So let's start with that. Here on a Reentry Monday from our Town Fair Tire Studios, Felger Mazz, Big Jim Murray alongside. Obviously, Dan Campbell following that Lions loss last night in the NFC title game. Murray, you go ahead.
Yeah, so this is where we're going to disagree. I don't think this has really anything to do with analytics. The analytics community supports this. They back him up on this. They support the decision. I think this moron just goes by his gut. He's proven that at different points this year. The loss to Dallas, when he's back at like the 25. No, we're still going to go for it rather than kicking the extra point, you moron. And so my problem with this is that it's like hitting, once you make the decision when you play blackjack, you hitting on 17, then you hit on 17 for the rest of the night. That's what you're doing. He decided to, reluctantly, when I was still screaming at my television in the first half, to kick that field goal to go up 3 scores. You could tell he really didn't want to do it, but he realized for a half second there, no, this is actually the prudent thing to do. I'll take the 3. Once you break that seal, that's what you do the rest of the night, you dunce. So once he elected to go for it there, and they didn't get it, I don't know about you, I called game over. I put it on Twitter. That was done. You idiot. He completely deflated that game and his team, and he cost them. He cost them, and they won't be back. That's it. Just like last year's Eagles, your 06 Chargers, your 2020 Packers, good luck. That's it. You're going forward, I'd fire him. Honest to God, I would fire him. If I was 98-year-old, Martha Ford Firestone, I pay my boys and Werther's candies, I'd fire his ass today. He's that stupid. He cost them. Great story up until it wasn't.
Mazz.
So I'm somewhere, I think, in between the two of you, and I'll give you an old line from A Few Good Men. There's a difference between paper law and trial law, okay? And you know what it is? That's the regular season and the postseason. So you want to coach or play a certain way during the regular season when it's about the long haul and how it looks theoretically, and this is what will happen over 17 games, fine. Once you get to the playoffs, it's different. You either know how to win or you don't. And I think yesterday, and I'm going to actually take this even beyond the Detroit game, but it was evident in the Detroit game as well. There are teams that know how to win and teams that don't. And I think yesterday there was one team that truly maintained its composure all day for the most part, and even that wasn't 100%, was Kansas City. That's it. The rest of them I look at and say, you crapped your pants here, you crapped your pants there, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're thinking. And in the case of Dan Campbell, when it comes to the touchdown and the 4th-down and the touchdown or field goal and going for it, take the points. Just take the points. What are you doing? You could have gone up 3 scores with the first field goal.
I mean, it's rudimentary.
Take the points.
You're a road team in the playoffs. You're up. You just take the points. Let's not overthink this. What are you doing?
Stupid.
But I'm telling you, the analytics community says if you consider something like road team in the playoffs, it's like Jared Carabas saying when we were talking about baseball players, if you talk about the eye test, you don't know what you're talking about. Because that's what sports have now become.
Correct.
So you don't factor in, Murray, and I'm saying this sarcastically because this is what an analyst would say. You don't factor in. That's how you run into trouble, is that you get duped into thinking you should make a different decision because you're in a different situation. The data is the data. The numbers are the numbers. Now, listen, I know that Dan Campbell wants to do this too. I'm not telling you like he's doing this against his will. The go for it on 4th down thing fits his mentality perfectly. We're going to go for it. We're going to show him. We're balls to the wall, like all that crap. So he's, I think, happy to do it. But I think he's emboldened by it. And if you want to call this a conspiracy theory, you can. But I think it's beyond that. I mean, to me, I think it's, I don't know. I think this is real. That there's, in the Lions front office, an analytics team. Mm-hmm. And we've heard this, that there's, across the league in every sport, but across the NFL now too, there are growing analytics departments. And these analytics departments are close to ownership in most cases. And the owners listen to the analytics department. In fact, in the heat of the battle during games, a lot of times, and after games, and probably on most days, they can talk to these people where the coaches are either insulated or bent out of shape or uncommunicative or just weird football coaches. So the owners talk to the analysts. And I guarantee you that the Lions have a team of analysts that tell you 4th and 3 at the 30-yard line is a go for it. Our numbers show that that's a go for it situation. And I know Dan Campbell, or I believe Dan Campbell knows this. Most coaches know this, but Mike Florio and others have written about this, that the coaches know that the owners listen to the analysts. So whether a coach wants to or not, or feels he should or not, he knows going for it on 4th and short is probably better for him because he'll be less likely to be second-guessed by ownership. So, Murray, I think it's a combination of the two. Certainly Dan Campbell wants to do it and fits his ethos. But I think he feels that he's on safer ground. I'm better going for it than not because I know I won't be second-guessed by owners because they're listening to the nerds, and the nerds tell me to go for it too.
Oh, this is part of the factor. I think he's shown that he makes these decisions, I think, more on his own, but they're in his head, for sure. And this nerddom that has taken over sports, this will expedite the end of my career. Because if, I'm going to get talked down to because I'm applying common sense to this, then I don't want to do this anymore. That, you don't believe in momentum and doom setting in on your team, F off. Well, those things you can't factor in because you can't quantify doom. You're just making that up. No, I'm not. I've watched enough sports in my life that I knew in my core when that a-hole went for it and it clanged off what the hell his name's hands was. That game was over. The Lions lost that game despite still being up 2 scores. It was over. I've seen this movie too many times with these teams that get there to a point and it's like, what a great story. And then they get in their own way and they blow it. And that's exactly what happened. You can't factor in doom. These nerds can't do it. Oh, no, that was actually the prudent thing to do. I saw it all over Twitter. All these analytics geeks. I sent you one of these guys that writes for The Ringer. Actually, that wasn't the thing. That wasn't that big of a factor. How can you look me straight in the eye and tell me that wasn't a factor? When that ball clanged off his hands, when you should have just taken the 3, and let alone the other 3 just to tie it. At that point, didn't you learn your lesson?
These kids just come from Sloan, the Sloan Analytics.
I hate it.
Crowd.
I hate it so much.
Most of them don't play, couldn't play, but they analyze, and so they have no feel for what that is or what a game situation is. I mean, and they're flat out wrong. They're just wrong. They're wrong. They don't have it right. They are wrong. And anyone who believes in it is just flat out wrong. Middle of the third quarter, the Lions are up 14 points, okay? The Niners had kicked a field goal on the previous possession to close it to a 14-point game. And the second half had not yet been sort of
established.
There was exactly, Mazz. There was no momentum either way. Okay, the third quarter was still in balance, and the Lions were firmly in control. If they kick that field goal and make that field goal, it's 3 possessions, 17 points, just under 7 minutes left. Right around 7 minutes left. The game's still in the balance. The building is still dead. The Niners can't run their full at 14 points, maybe. At 17 points, they might even be going hurry up there. They're like McCaffrey out of the backfield on running plays is really sort of out.
Mike, they're right back where they were to start the second half, and they've taken half the third quarter away.
Exactly. I mean, it's just common sense. It's 3 possessions. It's 17 points. It's the flow of the game. But the algorithm, and I know Campbell wants to do it anyway, but I guarantee you there's a team of freaking squids upstairs in Detroit that tell the Fords what all these squids tell all the owners. These coaches need to go for it more on 4th and short. Here are the numbers. And so it's just baked into how the Lions play football. And so they go for it. And the Lions might have lost anyway because they, who knows? Does that beget the ball bouncing off the safety's face? I don't know. But I just know the nerds are flat out wrong. They're just wrong. They have it wrong. And there's just too many people who follow them, too many people who adhere to it. And I don't know. I get the blowback from the nerds on the email chain. It's like, isn't it more exciting with these teams going for it on 4th down? And I got to tell you, it's not. It's not more exciting. It's not more exciting when a coach just follows a formula. Why is that more exciting? You know what's exciting? Playing a hunch, deciding or thinking ahead to the flow of the game, the situation, the circumstance, outthinking an opponent in a certain specific situation because of a certain thing. That's interesting. Just going for it on 4th and 3 at the 30 because the algorithm tells you to is not interesting. You freaking nerd. It's not interesting. How is that more interesting? It's just not.
No, it's really not much strategy. It's paint by numbers, like you say. Like they're just following a formula.
Fourth and less than 3 at the 30, you go for it. Whether it puts you up 3 scores, down 3 scores, to go for a tie in the fourth quarter on the road in the playoffs? Nope. The formula says, and we've been doing it all year, 4th and 3 at the 30-yard line, we go for it. So it's just, I think it's like one of the lead stories in sports, what this has become. You got an open lane to the basket in hoops.
Pull up for 3.
For an easy 2, the analytics say kick it out for an open 3. And so these guys, instead of driving to the basket, turn around and kick it out for an open 3. And I got to watch some guy make or miss, and now I'm watching horse or what? What am I watching? That's not more interesting, you nerd. It's not more interesting when someone does something the exact same way every time because that's what a formula tells them to do. That's not more interesting. It's not. I'm sorry. In baseball, it's a little more interesting when you try and move a runner along. But the analytics tell you to swing away. And if you give away an out, and I'm not saying they're wrong, I'm just telling you that doesn't make it more interesting. It doesn't. Analytics have not made it more interesting. You are wrong. You nerd. And it absolutely cost the Lions a game yesterday. So
it's ruining all of sports. It is.
I feel it in my core.
It's paper law. It's what it is. Again, let's just theoretically come out with what we're supposed to do here, and then let alone all of a sudden you stand in front of the jury and you got to deliver your closing statement and you crap your pants because you don't know what to do.
It doesn't make it more interesting.
Oh, my God, it's so idiotic. Like, let's make all these decisions in a vacuum before we actually get on the field.
Are the Chargers interesting? They went for it. They went for it and went for it and went for it and went for it and went for it. How is that interesting? Go back to the lab and play with your computer formulas. Go back and just play on your computer. And let the rest of us play and watch sports. Go back to wherever you go upstairs. And go back to your thing. And let the guys play ball. Would you please?
Just kick the effing field goal.
Oh, my God. I got to spend 4 hours ranting about this.